Welcome to the Effects Loop. I'm Diaz.
I'm Chris.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Doug Cower.
Keeping you in the loop of the guitar community. Alright, this week is brought to you by our Threadless store. You can get the link in the episode description and go check out some of the cool stuff we've got on there. Scott got a couple items in. They look really great.
My new shower curtain looks so good.
That would be the best thing. I really want. They have the shower curtain. Don't they have like a giant blanket too?
Yep.
Yeah, so they can keep you in the loop of what's going on in your bedroom. All right.
This got weird. Do we want to do another take?
No, let's keep it.
Let's keep
No, we're keeping it weird, guys.
Keeping it weird so you don't have to.
Oh, whoa, hold on.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh no. All right, so let's talk about what's new going on with you guys. Chris, what you got new?
Nothing.
Buy more stuff.
I'm
Now
trying to
it's- now
sell
it's-
stuff.
What are you trying to sell?
Liquidating probably a lot of my unused pedals.
Are you selling that third dimension?
Possibly.
If you end up selling it, let me know.
Will do.
So everyone's just gonna hear a deal being made in the what's new.
Hey,
got
we
one.
make special deal.
Yeah. Marissa, what's going on with you?
Nothing.
Golly, Bob.
Good start.
Guys. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go for Scott. If you don't have anything new, I'm just quitting.
Oh no, I got a brand new acoustics consulting position.
You've got a job, a paycheck. Those are nice.
Yeah, I got a new job this week. Just came back from Canada, doing some onboarding up there. Looks like some fun stuff. I'm no longer fun employed.
Wait. So when you were in Canada, did you go to Tim Hortons?
I didn't.
I
That's
heard
the
that
one
that's
thing I
the
forgot
best
to
stuff.
do. It's good. I had breakfast at my hotel, so I didn't have to go to Timmy's.
One of my favorite people to listen to is Kevin Smith, the guy who did Clerks and Mallrats and all that, and View Askew. And he talks about Tim Hortons, and he's a big guy, and I'm a big guy, and I trust his opinion. And if I need to get Timbits in my life, I guess that's what I need to do.
So what I really need to do is buy like used Mexican fenders and just fly up there with them and sell them on Craigslist. Are
the prices that crazy up there?
Yeah, because they're importing and all this kind of stuff. So I could probably make a decent penny.
Well, that's not
If
just
I'm
Mexico
comfortable.
into. That's just not Mexico into the U.S. That's Mexico into the U.S. into Canada.
Yeah.
That's a dual port.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see. And then, Doug, do you have anything new in your gear life? All right, someone mark that because we lost Doug.
Uh-oh.
And he left and came back in.
Oh, there he went.
All right.
I'm starting to think we only need to do one episode this week.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have him on next week and we'll do the next episode.
If he lost his recording, oh my gosh.
No, we'll be good.
I've got the backup of them.
Okay.
Douglas.
Sir Cower. I wonder if you play Kung Fu Fighting by what's his name, Carl Malone or Carl something. I think Carl Malone's a
Post Malone?
athlete. No. No, we can't hear you, Doug. Is there a way for you to mute? Let's see. If you go and you tap on the screen, there's a little thing down the left to shut off. Hit.
Hello. Here we go. Hang on. Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It
Yay!
worked.
It started blocking my microphone. I don't know why.
What is that noise in the background? Someone at Disney World? Oh my gosh, it's Kung Fu Fighting!
It worked.
How to summon Doug Cower.
Oh my god! I'm sorry, guys. This is
No.
embarrassing.
No, it's fine.
All right. So, did I disappear right as you asked me what I was up to?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you stop
good.
recording, or is it still been
So that
recording?
works out perfectly.
Yeah. Let's see. I think I am still recording. And
Okay.
what have I been up to? Absolutely nothing. There you guys
That's
go.
all right. Let's do that without the copyrighted music.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go for a little bit of dead air, and then we'll go back into it.
So Diaz, just ask him what's new with him.
Not too much. I've been, same as you guys. I don't know, trying to sell stuff for work, and no, nothing at all. Apparently, ruining podcasts is kind of what I've been doing today.
No, I was gonna say I remember the last time you bought something was like the Strymon Flint.
Yeah,
I remember seeing you post about that.
Well, okay, that's not true. I very rarely get to buy gear. I actually have had very little time this year to play guitar at all. And I'm very notorious about I don't do trades, but I did trade a guitar from our spring cleaning sale for a Melo Duende, which you guys may or may not have heard of. They're a builder in France, and they build kind of aluminum-bodied guitars. And I know them because they've built a couple for Scott Holiday, who plays our stuff. And it's super rad. It's kind of like a modern. This is gonna be really embarrassing because I actually don't know the model name of the guitar that I now own. But it's kind of like a modern Billy Bow-ish thing, and it's really cool. I'm really hoping at some point I will find an hour of free time to actually play it because it sounds rad. I played at the shop a little bit, and hopefully get a chance to go out and hit a jam night or something pretty soon and really give it a good workout. So that's something, I guess.
Everyone knows that guitar builders do nothing but sit around and play guitar all day.
Oh my god,
So-
yeah, all day. That's all I do
it.
is play guitar.
Let's see.
Yeah,
So
we just did this show in Berlin like 3 weeks ago, and I literally the first time I touched those guitars after as complete guitars was when I pulled them out of the box at the show.
Wow.
I started them all, but I didn't paint them. I didn't assemble them. I didn't do the fretwork. I did all the woodwork though, so that was something. It still counts,
Yeah.
but I just didn't even have time to play them. Ben put them, like my assembly guy put them together, and I'm like, "So you want to play them?" I'm like, "No, not really. I'm sure they're fine."
I don't know if I could do that. I would see that if I ever started a business, it would go under in a week. I'd be like, no,
yeah.
you have to actually build something. I'm like, I guess, okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, you do it all day. It's kind of hard to be excited about it after hours, but I am excited about that Melo Duende. I'm really looking forward to playing that.
That's pretty cool. I got my PH2 in, my Boss Phaser, because I was watching too much Incubus. And so I got to play with it at church today, and I actually took my reverb off my board and used my reverb just straight from my Kemper, and then put my phaser on there. I did it like right in between rehearsal and the actual service, and I kept throwing it in there randomly. I had way too much fun. So, but I use it pretty subtle. I don't go crazy with it. So that was pretty neat. The other guitar player was like talking about a Phase 90. I was like, nah, dude, this is the phaser right here. I still think that there should be more phasers out there.
I like phaser.
We've had a phaser in our gear news for like the last 4 of our last 5 episodes, so they're there.
Oh. More people need to utilize them.
Ah,
So,
there you go.
but I already went on that last week, and I talked about a person. I still think that's funny.
Where you mentioned that the Green Day bass player played an Incubus for a little while.
Yeah, I'm still upset that Chris didn't catch that. I was listening to the episode yesterday on the way home from work, and I was like, that's wrong. So, I was like,
That was the only time you noticed that?
I didn't have a nap last week, so I was probably like super phased out. So
yeah. Let's see, and then let's move on to gear news. What's going on? We've got the Lecom. How do you pronounce Lecom?
Close enough.
Lecom MIDI
I don't
controller.
think they ever said the company name in
We'll go with
any
it.
of the stuff we saw. So
Well, that's because they don't know how to pronounce their own company name. Let's see.
Cool.
So they've got a MIDI controller harmonica thing.
that runs in iOS.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is the greatest thing ever.
I love this. I think this is the greatest combination of the two most annoying things mankind has ever created. I
I
think it's
don't know.
amazing.
If you can get it to sound like an oboe, I think that would be it.
I'm okay with that. I really, as someone who frequents a fair amount of blues jams, have grown a lot of disdain for harmonica players. And as someone who also has an inordinate amount of love of my Electro-Harmonix C9 to annoy people with my organ skills, this is right up my alley. I think I could really, really do some damage with this combo.
The harmonica is one of those instruments that, when played tastefully, is amazing.
It's great.
John Popper from Blues Traveler, perfect
Yeah.
example.
Bono from U2
I'd
for
I'd
one
prefer-
song.
What Sully Erna from Godsmack plays it on Shinedown, the song they've got called Shinedown.
Billy Joe. Minority.
What
Don't
about
give me that
Billy
look.
Joel? There you go. I'll take Billy Joel over Billy Joe. So
Somebody go through his catalog, including deep tracks, and post it in the group. If you find one.
I would just love for somebody to hook this up while they're doing like an acoustics jam and trying to play it like Bob Dylan style, where it's just slop all over the
Oh, like on the metal thing that hangs around your neck too.
place. Yeah.
yes. Hold on. I love the people who say they play harmonica, but they do just like that. The Bob Dylan and the Alanis Morissette, where they just find one spot that sounds right and just blow in and out.
Mm-hmm. That's what she said. Sorry.
Listen, that was so
Continue.
good. I didn't even catch what you
All
actually
right,
said.
so let's actually talk about the product
find
real
out.
quick, because this is amazing. Not only is a chromatic harmonica really an annoying instrument, this takes it to another level because now it has really clicky buttons on it, and it is huge.
And you
I'm
can
kinda
replace your
disappointed
electric guitarist.
It doesn't work by just blowing across your iPhone. Like, I'm kind of bummed out that there's a separate thing for it.
Oh, like the Ocarina app?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
that thing was sweet. But yeah, this they have a demo of this. It's a class compliant USB driver MIDI blah 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 blah. It means it just works with all MIDI crap.
That was a lot of words.
Yeah, it was a lot of words that mean nothing other than just plug the USB cable in.
And hope
But yeah,
Windows
they have
wins
it-
the driver.
They have it running into GarageBand on a very 80s rific metal guitar plug-in.
Yes.
Yes.
Like
Just
the ones
doing
that sound like the old
meedly-meedlies.
Casios.
Yeah. And
This video
I
is highly
freaking
entertaining to
love it.
watch when it's on mute. It looks like he's blowing a Wii controller. It's really entertaining. And I
Really,
didn't mean that in the
joy of this is
euphemism
these
way. I meant
videos.
literally looks like he's blowing on a Wii remote. Yeah.
Oh
It
man.
was fun.
it looks like a lot of fun. If it was $100, I would totally pick one up just to noodle with.
I
Yeah, I
didn't see
just
the
looked at the
I didn't see the
price.
price on it. Tell me so I can get mine.
750 euros.
Kiss my
Which
ass.
comes out
No.
to what?
About
800?
$900. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So no. I'll
I can
stick
do
with
all of that.
traditional and
Wait, hold on. Number one, I want to meet the harmonica player that sees this and says, "That's it. That's my in. That's how I'm going to get into the band."
Oh no, seriously, go Google. The article that first pitched this to us mentions one from the 80s that did a very similar thing at about 8 times the size, called the Millionizer 2000.
Oh god.
Yeah, that one looks like he's blowing an Atari.
Doug has
That's
a
how
thing
you.
for-
That's how you get the cartridges to work.
Yeah.
is you gotta play harmonica on
That's
it.
Doug's
exactly
got
what
a
it looks
thing
like
for
he's
blowing
doing.
into game systems.
Yeah, well, I'm a Sega kid. Yeah, that's exactly how you
But-
fixed him.
if you leave YouTube autoplay on while you're watching the Millionizer video, it gets deep into like really odd stuff. So these will be posted in the group because they are worth sharing.
I would love to be Doug's kids. They'll be like, Dad, my Xbox One's not working. He's like, blow in it. Dad, my leg's broken. Blow in it.
It's the 90s.
I should have done that with my Pro Tools today to get it working.
Did you try blowing into it?
Yeah. That's how I got Hangouts recording here. Don't you guys knocking?
Hold on. Yeah. When I buy a cower, I'm gonna email him 2 weeks later. Be like, this thing's out of tune. He'll be like, did you try blowing on it?
It's gonna be my new reply. That's gonna be my auto reply. I'm gonna have to answer emails anymore. It's brilliant.
Did you try blowing on it? All right. All right. Now that we're
I'll give it 3 months, and Scott's going to be trying to build one out of an Arduino at home, and it can happen.
That's it. He's like, hold on, I'm going to build one. Let's see. All right, and then we're moving on to Mercurial Audio is offering. I don't know how words work. Is offering you a free plug-in chorus pedal. I don't use plugins on anything, so Scott, that might be effective for you, so you can sound like the 80s.
It's available for free, so go buy it. It's literally a chorus pedal. That's nothing more needs to be said.
Like
other
bare
than
bones chorus pedal at that.
Well, it's a straightforward chorus pedal.
My favorite chorus pedal is my Ibanez CS9, and it is 2 knobs. Like that's all you need.
Well, this has 3 knobs.
Whoa, too much.
And it's true bypass, I think.
Listen, I actually was thinking about that for a second. I was like, wait, hold on, that's a plug-in. Does it
The only chorus pedals I play have buttons.
Yeah, so when we saw this, I was in Canada and away from all my junk, so I haven't been able to try it out yet. But if you go to their site, they have actually like 6 or 7 different kind of plugins available for free right now to try out. So go ahead and go give it a look. And we'll let you know. I mean, I know GTR doesn't really have a good chorus pedal on it. There's actually a few of them that are out there that just don't really have very good stuff. So hopefully this kind of fills in a gap where that hasn't been there. So
all right, and then we're moving on to. They have an article about the best electric guitar strings in the world today, which I don't know how much I trust this list. Because the first one on there is the Ernie Ball Paradigms, which I've heard good things, but they've been around for like 3 months. Can you really say they're the best already?
If they've lasted 3 months, yes.
Sure, they lasted more than a week for Ernie Balls, so it's a pretty good start.
Yeah,
I hate
even
Ernie
plasma
Balls.
enhanced wrap wire.
Ooh,
What the hell does plasma enhanced wrap wire mean?
that's fancy. I'm in. I hope they went to like Livermore Labs where they did where they had that giant laser that they used for the engine room in like the last Star Trek movie, and like pull the strings through that whatever they're trying to create there. And yeah, I'm totally in. I want plasma infused. Or am I all wrong? And it's like they're just going to blood banks and like dipping the strings in plasma, like literally.
Yeah, you're gonna get the HIV from.
I
these
donate
strings.
plasma.
That's what's gonna happen.
I donate plasma, and I've never had anyone come in with guitar strings. So
Well, I think you're missing your mark there.
Yeah,
What are they doing in the back room, Diaz? That's really the question.
I'm gonna have to talk with them. I go on Wednesdays and Fridays, so I'm gonna have a talk with them and see what's going on. Let's see.
Yeah, this is Music Radar's rundown of all the best strings that they say are out there right now.
I've never even heard of these.
These are almost all fairly recently released things, other than
Roto
number
Sound
11.
Rotos.
I
What
use those for a long
idiot-
time.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What? Here's my question. Who came up with that idea for that being the name? Roto Sound Rotos.
The Jed Bobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these guys have been around since at least the 70s, so that probably plays a lot into it.
They're color coordinated, so if you are colorblind, tough crap.
I'm really surprised that the DR neon multicolor strings are on this list.
They're
Are
on
they
it.
really?
Yes, they are on the very bottom.
Yeah, where they belong.
Oh yeah.
I used to use
Ooh.
the black ones like when I was in high school, very briefly. Not a fan.
We'll get these
Listen,
multicolors from the base.
I had the black ones too because it represented my soul as a high schooler.
Ooh.
And
Here's my
Florida
question:
gets dark, man.
Is who wants to play a venue with strings that are lit up by blacklight and not be completely grossed out about what else is lit up by blacklight at that venue? Like, I don't want to live in that world.
And what venue is actually using blacklight? most of the time?
the same venue that plays Sandstorm on repeat.
Yep.
Blue Man Group.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, there's that too.
Dude, I remember seeing Blue Man Group when I was in high school, and that was pretty cool, though. That's all I'm saying.
That's immediately what I thought of when I saw these. I'm like, yeah, the bass player for Blue Man Group probably has these.
That's probably what they were invented for, and he's their only customer.
Okay,
And it's a
There
custom
is a-
set.
Well, there's like 8 bass players for the Blue Man Group in any given city, so
True.
Yeah.
That's enough.
there
That's
is a set
sustainable.
on- there's a set on there that I do want to try out, and that's the Optima Gold Brian May signature. Those they're 24 karat gold strings.
Ooh.
It's
fancy.
$23 a set.
when you're using your coin as a pick,
It's not
Hey,
that
listen.
bad.
Well, that coin, you know the whole story. Like that coin, they don't make anymore, and he bought like every bit of them. It has a stockpile of them, right? That's
That's
Brian
yeah,
May's a
that's-
genius. Like he's legit genius. Like I think he's actually like a rocket scientist.
no, he is not like he is actually a rocket
Yeah,
scientist.
he
yes.
is actually.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what I
you're-
meant. Like he,
You are correct in that, sir.
yes, he is a rocket scientist.
That's Dr. Brian May to you.
Has he been knighted? Is he Sir Dr. Brian May?
That's
There's
a
no-
good question.
There's
Don't
no
think
way that man has not been knighted. His
Mm.
hair
Knighted
just looks
Elton
like he
John.
belongs to be knighted.
maybe he will after their movie comes out this summer.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
I
that
saw a
looked really
preview
good.
and I was like, eh.
Okay. All right. So let's just say here's the question though. What is everyone? If you had to pick the number one strings in the world currently being made, what would you say is the best strings being made?
For
Chris.
me or for everybody?
Everyone. I want Chris. Tell us.
Gabriel Tenario. I've really enjoyed those.
Yeah,
They've
those-
lasted a really long time so far, like
I
everybody
played-
says.
I played my Firebird today, and I was just shocked how the strings still felt like they were still brand new.
Did you get the artist series or did you get the normal?
I just got the normal. I can't afford to buy the $100 worth of strings.
4 sets for $100.
Yeah. Not right away.
That's
Well,
actually not that expensive.
it's
it-
not. The
yeah.
main thing is that I've got different guitars, and I've been trying different gauges. So every time I order a set, I've actually messaged Gabriel and said that was like I ordered a set for my Firebird. I was like, what do you suggest for this? My SG, what do you suggest for this? So I
Makes
did
sense.
that. But yeah, he makes killer stuff. Marissa, who do you think makes the best strings?
I like the String Joys.
I haven't tried those
Yeah.
yet.
They're one of the few you can actually get like a wound G through.
I need to
I
try
have a
them
wound
out.
G on the set I bought.
Well, what
What-
was the gauge though?
They were 12s.
Okay, exactly. I was able to get like a 10 set with a wound G.
Oh, nice.
Play with 12s?
Yeah.
Are
my,
you
my-
literally
wow.
Groot?
no, on my on my Century, I have 12s because that's what they came with for
Okay.
that wound G, and I typically only tune it up to D, so it works better.
I can see
Alright.
that.
Doug, who do you think's making the best?
Well, I've been using the same company for like 10 years. It's called String Dog, stringdog.net, and they were Joe Naylor, of Reverend Guitars. That was his company when Joe was going to start and make everything, and then he sold it to the current owners, who I've always dealt with. I found them after they sold, and they've been great. I mean, they've been on every single Cower and Titan we've ever shipped in my 11 or 12 year history now. They're kind of they probably need way more marketing than they do, and we do our best to help them. But they remind me, because I was an Ernie Ball guy for a long time, but Ernie Balls just never seemed to last more than like 3 days for me. Like what made them good would wear off in the first 48 hours, and then they would last about a week and then die. String dogs remind me a lot of that, but they sound that way for much longer. Like they have what I like about Ernie Balls for like a couple of weeks of good playing, and then they just still sound really good for for us, because we get so many people to put their hands on guitars. Any strings that last a month are pretty good.
That's not bad.
So
Yeah.
I know people talk a lot about how Taylor started putting elixirs for all their store models, and that kind of lets the Guitar Center kind of life cycle of them sound better.
A lot longer, sure.
Do you ever use coated strings for any of like your show guitars or anything like that?
No, I don't, because most of the time I don't like. I totally get why Taylor uses the elixirs. I don't like the way they sound all that much. So I get why their goal is to make that guitar sound as good as it humanly can for as long as it can in the store, when 2 million people come through who don't wash their hands. But usually at the shows, their strings are definitely roasted by the end of it, but it's 2 days, or 4 days at the most for NAMM. So, we don't sweat it too much for that. I bring extras with me in case something breaks, but, I don't usually change them out. Though I will say one thing I have noticed, geographically speaking, NAMM surprisingly is not as bad as Berlin was this last round. Berlin, something about, I don't know if maybe smoking is more prevalent or just not washing your hands as much. But
Those damn dirty Germans.
Yeah. Oh man, I've never seen a set of our strings go roached like that quickly, and I've never had to wipe like at Winter NAMM. I literally never wiped the guitars down, mostly because I'm lazy. But they generally did okay. Like in the first 3 hours, like I literally had to take like a damp cloth and wipe the backs of the necks down. They were so gross. Like, oh my.
It's all the bratwurst.
Yeah. It has to be. Well, in all fairness, it was probably me then. I had so much currywurst over there.
Hold on, and before all the Germans who are listening get mad, my family immigrated from Germany. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm first generation American.
Italian.
Yeah, I'm pretty much half German, half Spanish. So
yeah.
Diaz is the Spanish, but it's like my grandmother still cursed me out in German, so we're all good. Listen,
I don't think the German part of my family's listening, so we're all good.
The best, one of the most German things that I absolutely love, and everyone always gets freaked out by it, is we used to eat for Christmas pig's feet and sauerkraut.
Sure.
I almost ordered pig's feet just now.
Dude,
I was at Dim Sum, and that was on the menu.
Pig's feet and sauerkraut is one of the most insane meals when you look at it, but it tastes great. It's a good food.
You know what strings are on this list that I did try recently are those Diodario NLXLs or NYXLs. They gave us a bunch of NAMM, and it just happened to be what I had in the drawer at my house a while ago. And they're nice. I like them.
They take us, put them on. They kind of have this dry feeling to them.
Mm-hmm.
But after you play, they kind of break in. But they do have a nice like pop to them.
Yeah, they sound like good. I never really got to play that guitar plugged in too much, but it was actually on that green Super Chief that we built for NAMM. It's been at my house until I went to this art exhibit thing, and that guitar was significantly louder acoustically than almost any other Super Chief, and I think that's the only difference was those strings that I could think of offhand. I didn't really play it when we went back to the string dogs on it, so I have to compare it when I get a chance to play it again. But yeah, they seemed nice. Free strings for free strings. I was happy about that. Well, not free.
I know that's
yeah.
right.
Nothing at NAMM is free.
No. Listen, I probably still owe some people some stuff from last summer NAMM I don't even know about.
I mean, you got that demo coming out soon, right?
Oof.
All right, so there's the running joke. I owe a demo, and
it's not a joke. You owe a demo.
Well, I mean, it's not. I'm talking about like the smart ass comments. But listen, looking at you, Zach. He's in the group. He brings it up. So yeah, I owe a demo to Lambertone pickups, but life just kind of got crazy. I'm working like 72-hour weeks, and my wife just had surgery a couple weeks ago, and so I'm kind of playing mom and dad and working like crazy, and pretty much all heck is broken loose in my life. So it's always been fun. So that's
At this
what that
point, we'll
is.
just plan on recording at the NAM house.
I did put that as worst case scenario. I recorded at the NAM house. I get it out, and
Yes, I mean,
I'll
we got
never-
all the equipment, so we can do a nice fancy shoot. And
Yeah, I'll never
all that.
offer to do demo work again. So I learned my lesson the hard way. But I didn't get to say my favorite strings. Gabriel Tenario, good stuff. So, but Doug, what was that brand you said again, so people can look them up?
It's stringdog.net. They're great.
DOG?
Yep. Yeah, and they all come with an extra B&E string, which is kind of nice. And
Oh, that is good.
until you've been using them forever and you have like 2,000 extra E strings.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good that you have
I-
extra.
I know guys that just go through high E strings.
I
though, so.
do actually pretty notoriously across any brand. I'm when in doubt for talent, bend hard. That's kind of my rule. So
Well, listen, when I first started playing guitar, the first church I played at was an all black church. The only white people were me and my brother. He's a drummer. He's the guy who does the our intro song. That's his stuff. And
Sure.
also his lady went into labor today. So Marcus, if you listen to this, congratulations on having a child for the first time. But we went and we went to play, and I was timid. I was scared. I've got these excellent musicians, and if you've ever been into an all black church, the musicianship is amazing there, like 99% of the time. It's just it's
That's one of those good stereotypes.
yeah. Listen, it's true, but it's not a stereotype.
it's definitely a situation where I would be in the 1%.
Yeah.
I'd be the terrible one.
You've been to a terrible one?
No, I would be the terrible one. I'd be like,
Oh.
yeah, I'm finally a 1%er.
But that's one of the first like lessons that the like music director taught me. He said, man, when in doubt, just keep bending until it sounds right. I was like, okay. And listen, it's worked for me this fall, so gotta stay with it. But let's go ahead and we're gonna move on to our topic, which this week our topic is actually our special guest, Mr. Doug Cower. So Doug has been a pretty much a pretty well-known person through the Facebook groups.
Infamously
He makes
so.
infamously so. The best is Doug usually doesn't post much, but whenever he does, if you get a notification of it, you might want to check it out.
Well, it depends on
but-
what group you're in, because there's the more inner level groups are usually get the full blown like, oh, here's
Real
Doug on
dumb.
a rant about how dumb this guy is. Yeah.
There's a yeah. Stay tuned next week for when we go into that. Doug will be on next week, so come back and check it out. We'll go into more. But let's see, Doug, why don't you tell us a little bit about Cower Guitars and Titan Guitars and everything you're doing?
Sure. So I started. Well, I'm Doug Cower, obviously. We've mentioned that. I started the business. I started building guitars about, 15, 16 years ago now. My dad was a cabinet maker, so I've grown up doing that. I mean, there's pictures of me. There's a picture of me on my desk at like 5 years old with earmuffs bigger than my head, catching crown molding coming out of the molder when we started in our garage all those years ago. So 30 years ago now. And then I just kind of fell into guitar building. Like I had no intentions of being self-employed. I went through that with my parents, and I was like, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to get a teaching job. I was really passionate about being a teacher, which is ironic because I was a terrible student and I hated going to school, which is probably why I didn't finish, honestly. But I had this piece of maple come in the shop one day that was really pretty. It was, it's just in the pile that was going to become, crown molding or baseboard, something. cabinet doors or whatever, and I set it aside and said something to my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, about how I should make a guitar. But the main thing was kind of like I had that same epiphany at the time, like because I played guitar and I always kind of messed with them a little bit, but I always, even though I woodworked my whole life, I always kind of felt like guitars were this like somebody carried it down off the mountaintop type thing. Like I had the epiphany that no, like people make those things. Like I don't know why I can't make one. I have all the tools. I've been certainly doing it long enough. And it seems like kind of an arrogant way to get into it, but it's not really what it was. But I just started making guitars. I was very fortunate that I had the woodworking background, and my father-in-law, my wife's dad, my wife and I met because we were both musicians, and she started singing in my band. And this was like 2000, 2001, but her dad and I knew her parents actually before I knew Teresa. Because they are kind of the stalwarts of like the local band where they're always playing stuff in town, and they were both teachers, and people I played growing up with played or had them as teachers at some point. And Elk Grove, the town that we lived in at the time was a pretty good tiny town, so everybody kind of knew each other. But Steve did like light repair works, like he knew how like soldering pickups and refrets and that kind of stuff, like the more guitar specific stuff that or the details end of it. So it just kind of came together and started. I really started with the Daylighter, and that was just something that I designed because I love Jazzmaster shaped guitars, but I hate Jazzmasters, and I love Les Pauls sonically, but I hate Les Pauls, and designed a carved top Jazzmaster, and then people liked it, and I, like an idiot, made it into a business. And I never play guitar, so it seems to be kind of the normal arc. But yeah,
That's pretty cool. You've got a handful of different models. It seems like you don't have a wide range, which is good in my opinion. There's a lot of these guitar companies that have so many different styles.
Sure.
You've got your ones, and you do them really well.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. So I have like three main, we call it families. And so it's basically three main shapes. It's the Banshee, which is our kind of Firebird-ish guitar. And then we have the Daylighter, which is the Jazzmaster-ish shaped guitar. And then we have what is Starliner, which is kind of our single cut, what I want a Les Paul to be, but isn't currently guitar. But within those things that we would have, carved tops, flat tops, semi-hollows, juniors, like all these variations on that theme. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with like PRS and whatnot, where we would kind of take a good shape and then, frankly, milk it to death. But I've consciously, in the last about 2 years, started pulling things out of the lineup and trying to focus on about just 3 guitars at a time. Mostly because like the last time we did Winter NAMM, we realized, we brought 40 guitars to Winter NAMM, and because we had 14 models, quote unquote, I had to bring one of each thing, but a lot of those models haven't been popular for a while, and I'm like, that's just kind of dumb. So we're kind of just focusing on Super Chief and Banshee right now, and then Titan, our other line, is kind of the third thing we're making. But I still like to go off the rails, and if we pull something out of the lineup, it's not like I go delete the programs and break them, all the jigs. It's I can still make one here and there, and I like doing that. But it's just nice to focus on a few things at one time.
Yeah, and so you mentioned Titan. You just started those out. It's been over a year now, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 years.
2, wow.
Actually, so we would have pulled the curtain back. We didn't start selling them officially, but we do that big open house in June every year, which this year we're not doing because of other events that conflict. But we would have it would have been 2 years ago, really this coming up month, that we would have unveiled it. So like typically we do at our own event in the summer, we kind of pull the curtain back on whatever we're going to start selling in around NAMM, first of the year. So we kind of just have done that. It's been officially for sale since January 1st of last year. And then, yeah, it's going pretty good. I mean, it's a great guitar. I'm really, really proud of it as what we accomplished for the money. And like it's really easy to build a guitar and sell it for no money. Like that's easy. To do it in a way that everybody gets paid and you can afford to make the next guitar is very difficult. And we kind of found a balance and a method. It's been a struggle. It's still kind of a struggle, but we're making it work, and we did it without having to go overseas, which was a big deal for me.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the Titan line is the fact that would you say it's modular? Is that what you call it? Where you can take that whole pickup or the whole pick guard control has all your controls.
Yep.
You can take that out, put another one in, and 60 Cycle Hum did a demo of how fast they did it. It was only a few minutes, I think.
Yeah, about 5 minutes to take it and swap it out. Yeah, it's we approached that from two perspectives. One, obviously, like the classic trap that Cower falls into, and why Cower starts really on. I mean, we have a couple things that aren't $3,000, but the average Cower is about $3,900. Is Cowers are built fairly specifically to order, and they are not always that flexible. Like if you want to change something after the fact, and there's a lot of options, and Cower is the brand that I enjoy doing. Like hey, we did a Banshee for Chris Benson, and Chris Benson wanted me to match his Astro van for the paint color. That's the brand we could do that with. Titan is we can't do that kind of stuff. It just spirals out of control, and then the price gets where Cower's at. So what the idea of the electronics all being on the pickguard was twofold. One, from a manufacturing point of view, it's one body. I can make one body over and over and over again, and it doesn't matter how it gets ordered for what pickups are in it. So that was a no-brainer from the get-go. And two, not having an electro socket output jack like we use on basically everything we make for Cower, where we have to add a step by drilling a hole in the thing, and then or anybody who's had a Strat, like even a Strat with a universal route, it's a great idea until you have to pull the pickguard and realize you have to unsolder the output jack because it goes through a hole in the body. So I knew I didn't want
the shortest cord possible.
Oh, always, yeah. It's amazing how they can get that thing to be exactly the length installed and not a hair more. So getting the output jack onto the pickguard was a big deal too, and I know I'm not the first person to do that, but to try to design it in a way that looks good and looks intentional without looking cheap. And then that opened the ability to basically sell fully loaded pickguards. That it's one wire. I mean, it just unhooks, and it takes longer to get the strings out of the way than it does to pull the 12 screws and swap the pickguards. So it's been great. I really love it for that. And it's and to me, there's some unintended benefits of that big cavity. It makes the guitars really loud acoustically. It's almost a giant chamber in there. It's one of the things that I consistently hear by people who pick up Titans is, they're always surprised how light it is, excuse me, or how loud it is acoustically. And it's a great sit on the couch and noodle guitar for that reason.
One of the reasons, so my goal is by the end of 2018 to own a Cower or a Titan.
Sure.
And one of the reasons why, I really kind of have been leaning towards the Titan, or maybe even two Titans for fun or doing one Cower, is that there's a guy who buys them. He listens to the shows. It's Adam Dolhanic, and he still, he owns Cowers and he still buys Titans.
Yep.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, he just bought another one, and that just shows the quality. If you've got a guy who's building, you said 3,900 on average.
Yeah.
Towards Titans, what do you say? Probably about 1,500 on average.
Yeah, average Titan is typically we have the standard, which is $1,299 with either Duncan Seth Lovers or Duncan P90s, which are great options. I mean, I'm a person who was pretty anti-Duncan snob for a long time. Those pickups from them are tremendous, and
I've got a pair of Seth Lovers.
Yeah, they're a great pickup. But most people tend to go Lawler or TB Jones. So the average KR1 usually clocks in about $1,600.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you got this guy who's buying guitars that, on average, are about half the price.
Yeah.
And he still loves them. That's a testament to how great these guitars are. I got to play one at Summer NAMM and wait, did you? Yeah, you had them at Summer Jam last year. Weren't they at the JHS booth? Didn't they?
I had a few scattered through the show. I had one at the table or at the showcase where I was at, and then I had JHS had one. Josh Scott has one. I mean, his Titan, and then the guys at Creation had my personal Titan, which happened to be in Nashville getting demos done with RJ at the time. They also had my Super Chief, personal Super Chief over there. And then I think we had another one somewhere else, maybe at Nick Rear's booth or something. I can't remember. Yeah, it's the thing that scared me the most about it when we went down this road was when they start showing up used, a guitar that's already $1,300 is going to sell for very cheap used. And then as soon as that happens, we won't be able to sell Titans anymore. And that's a little bit of why we brought it under a different brand name in case it did flop. But what's really amazed me is how rarely they come up for sale used. That they really it doesn't happen very often. And they have, it seems like everybody I've talked to that has one, especially people that have one and a Cower, they love them and they end up keeping them because like I said, if you do get bored of how it sounds, it's just a $300 or $400 change instead of $1,500 change to mix it up. And B, it's the thing I've heard universally is it's the guitar that I don't worry about taking out and playing. That it sounds amazing, and it's just not a $5,000 guitar, so I don't worry about going out and playing a dive bar night with it. So that's made me really happy. It's a good testament to that we did our job right, I think.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns about if I ever bought a Cower, was because I'm not very I'm not rough on my guitars.
Sure,
but I use them.
I've definitely shown up to a jam night to play 3 songs with $15,000 in gear. I'm that guy. I've and it's kind of embarrassing, and it's anytime I get a new amp or something, I'm like, oh yeah, I just brought my Benson with the Tallbird and the Monarch and the cab and my freaking giant pedal board, that is full of JHS and Strymon and all this, it's all industry friends, so it's kind of one of those things that you just end up acquiring because there's a lot of industry trades, but yeah, I'm like, oh, it was totally worth it to play 3 songs, yay.
Yeah,
hope I don't get mugged on the way out.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I find that the family band got together and we played for a friend's birthday party, and my father-in-law's got an Argonaut and a bunch of Cowers, obviously. And then, I brought my Super Chief and my Titan, and then the other guitar player in the band who played part of the set, he plays a Daylighter most of the time. And I brought my Super Chief, and I brought it to every rehearsal, and I brought it to the gig, and I never picked it up. I played my Titan the entire time. It's my Titan specifically for me is a Telecaster that finally works for me. I've never found a Tele that I can bond with, and this just really works. So I really like it.
Yeah,
very cool. Doug, one of the things I've definitely noticed from you versus a lot of other builders is how you seem to have a very unique way of painting your instruments versus sort of traditional.
I was about to mention that because one of my favorite things to look at on the Cower Instagram is the little boomerangs. Whenever you do different colors, and you do a lot of sparkle. Which is
it's funny.
Great.
The last 4 years especially has been very nice that almost without fail, if I do we did a Super Chief with a redwood front and back, that was actually the last piece of redwood from this table that I built for my wife, and it was a stunning guitar. And it took a while to sell. But we did a Verde Chiara one or some oddball or a Nebula, and those things sell immediately. The last 2 years, it's been great because I really love doing the more oddball finishes, and I'm kind of glad that people aren't asking for Sunburst, just plain old Sunburst all the time. And I kind of have
the root beer flavor. The root beer color.
That one was, that color's great. I got to do another guitar that color.
What is the whenever the fair comes into town? They've got the little cars that go up and down, and they have those sparkle, the root beer and the green and all that. That's kind of what it reminds me of, but not in the in a bad sense. They just have
I
that.
like to be a little obnoxious. It makes me kind of happy.
Have you done one in pearlescent? The one where it's like purple into green into like
Yeah,
silver?
we just did. Actually, I didn't do it. So Tyler, the kid who been with me the last 3 years, who unfortunately just left for a better job offer that we couldn't tell him no on. I taught him to paint about a year ago. He moved over from just standing guitars to painting, and one of the last things he did while I was in Berlin, we did a Starliner Junior that is probably going to get assembled in the next couple weeks here, and it's black metallic, and then it's got like this blue pearl coat over the top, and it's insane. It shifts between kind of black depending on the lighting to black metallic, and then once the pearl hits the light, it goes between like blue to purple, and it's insane. It is such a cool looking color. We've done a couple of those. We've done a lot of metal flake. I love doing metal flake. It's so makes me the inner teenage girl in me, I guess, very happy for sparkly things.
I just had an image of you like covering your mouth with your hands like they're shaking. You're so excited when you
Oh
see
yeah,
it.
it's very much like that. This band that I just shot, the flake is from a company called Paint Huffer Metal Flake, which I've followed for a long time, but they gave us some samples like 2 years ago, and for some reason we just haven't done any flakes in a long time. Because the downside to metal flake is it absolutely destroys my spray booth. Like we won't do it until I have like 3 or 4 guitars to do at the same time, and it has to be at like the end of my but like every quarter we have to kind of clean out the booth, repaint the floor, repaint the walls, put all the fresh filters in. It just gets so gross. So it was finally time, and we shot this flake, and it was in the can. It looked like bright yellow power bait. Like it looked literally what we relabeled the can as power bait green. But when we shot it, it actually was more green than yellow, but I didn't realize it at the time. It's color shifting flake. So when you get it outside and you rotate it, it shifts from like bright green to like super bright orange. To the point where even with the guitars just sitting in the shop, like we make these racks, and I have shop grade versions of them that we keep the guitars that are in progress on. It's on a Banshee, so like the top horn is green, but the way the light reflects on the bottom horn is orange, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to get this one up and running. It's going to be so ridiculous. Yeah, but my shoes are completely covered in color shifting green metal flake now.
Oh my gosh. That'd be great. You mentioned the racks. Why don't you tell us about those? Because that'll lead in kind of into next week.
Sure.
End with a tease on that.
Sure.
But you've got a rack company as well.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, as much as we do Titan and Cower every day, the reality is guitars don't sell every day for us. They don't even sell every week for us usually. We tend to sell a lot of guitars right around first of the month when people get paid, and sometimes in the third week of the month if people get paid twice a month, and that's kind of it. And the racks was something that I just built for my house. Honestly, we bought our first house, my wife and I together, 11 years ago now, and I had a space where I wanted to put guitars, and I just made this kind of nice looking stand. And I people liked it. And I again fell into this trap. So for the first couple of years I did the business, we made these racks, and I made them in different woods and different sizes, but we never really like hammered out it's kind of a weird thing to say, but when you make an object and you sell it, it's not the making it that's difficult, because obviously like I made the racks because I know how to do that. It was like the packaging or the padding material or like all those details that were just a nightmare. And it just sucked the blood out of me, and I just stopped doing it. And so, and at that point, the guitars were busy enough that I didn't quite need the side income. And then about 5-6 years ago, we have this weird nook in our assembly office. Like, I don't know why they put it there, but it's a 39 or 40-inch wide nook that's totally useless. And we had so many guitars going that I was like, I'm just going to make another one of those racks. And just before I stopped doing it the first time, we made a 2-level rack. We made it as 2 separate units that stacked. And so I made one for that corner, and I put it on Instagram. And people lost their minds over it. They're like, why don't you sell those? And I was like, I used to sell them. And in the like 6 years that had gone by, we bought our laser. I had, it's kind of like any other business. Like, sometimes building guitars is not all that hard, but knowing the right tool or the right person to tell you what tool or the right company to work with is the stuff that really improves the product over the years. A lot of that same stuff kind of happened for the racks. And so we approached it from I wanted to make one size option, one wood option, no, kind of the same thing as Titan. And I want to have color choices. It's going to be bamboo. It's going to be just these two products. You can buy them together. You can buy them separately. And we got the packaging worked out. And believe me, if you want to have a podcast about cardboard sciences and packing sciences, I can go in depth now. I'm knowledgeable on the subject now.
We can have my buddy who does that professionally come in.
Oh yeah.
Have a great
if
time.
I ever had to go back and get a new profession, that's what I would get into. Yeah, it's a whole other ordeal.
Packaging engineering.
Yep. Yeah, and so, but we made these racks and I put them out there, and by sticking to like just the two racks, we were able to kind of mass produce them in a way that was effective for us. And they're not a cheap product, but they're really kind of middle ground. There's nothing quite like, so it's a bamboo furniture grade guitar stand. It holds the original ones, they hold 7 guitars, and then you could stack it. And so instead of you could basically go vertically, and it's like the Lego movie joke. It's like bunk bed couch.
Yeah.
It's guitar bunk bed. So you could put 14 guitars in a 3-foot wide space, and it's an incredibly effective way of storing guitars, especially for studios or apartments or rehearsal spaces and that kind of stuff. And there's nothing else quite like it on the market. There's a couple guys that are close and frankly not as well executed as ours, without trying to brag. And they're actually quite a bit more money than what ours is, surprisingly, for as much complaints as we get about the cost. But it's fantastic. So now it's become almost to the point now where we are a rack company that almost builds guitars on the sides. Like the racks is what lets us do guitars, honestly.
Well, I even saw them on. Are they on? What was it? Zizounds or Zzounds
Yep.
or American Musical?
Yep. Yeah. So AMS and Zzounds are the same company.
Yeah.
And they're the first people to start carrying the racks, and they've been thrilled with them. So we're trying to push that, because the kind of the nice thing about them is like they are exactly because I share the space with my dad's business. We technically have 2 separate leases. We have 2 separate shop units. We each have 3,000 feet, but they're adjoined via a giant hole in the wall. But the machinery that I grew up working on, the racks are designed for that. Like that's the kind of thing that those machines were meant for. They're the construction style of them and everything. And so it's very easy. That's a very easy business for me to expand. And the more we can expand it, the more we sell with it, the more I get to do fun stuff with Cower, when I'm not worried about as much like, how am I making payroll this week? If we sell a few racks every week, payroll gets met. We get to have fun making Cowers or Titans. And it's been very good for that. So it's kind of one of those things like before we had Titan, there was nothing less than $3,000 from Cower. And so it's hard to sell stuff at $3,000 every week. And this is like, okay, well, maybe if we bring out Titan, then we'll have something at like $1,500. And then I was like, I really know that we need like a $300 widget, but I don't want to make pedals. I don't know how. First of all, I don't want to make them. I have too many friends in the business to do that. I don't want to do pedal boards because I don't want to step on at the time Dan Tyak's feet or the Creation guys or whatever. And the rack was something that I kind of forgot about, and we kind of fell back into. And it's been exactly that. It's our $400 widget that we can sell. It's a great product. It's one that's very nice, and it fits a nice little niche in the market, and yeah, works out really well for me. So now we have a handful of different products, and we just launched a couple more this weekend that's a new size option. So now we have 2 different size options, and always finding new things we can do with it. And it's gonna sound terrible, but I truly love building guitars, but I love problem solving and thinking of new things more. And the guitars, not that they've been stagnant or I've mastered the art of guitar building by any stretch, but we've kind of hit that point where I've got a good crew now and things are going really well for it. So adding some creativity has been being applied to the racks, especially with we just got a new CNC machine in, so there's some hat tricks that I'm very looking forward to doing that we're going to use on the rack line first, and that will filter over to guitars later on the new machine. So it's been kind of fun to do that.
Well, I see a lot of owners. I think Robert Keeley's one that I see a lot. You see them post that when they get big enough, or they get to the point where they can sustain a crew, they're not doing the. I mean, Doug, you're not probably wiring the pickups. You're not doing everything. You've got people who do this stuff for you now, and you're and a lot of the times when you're not worrying about the financial side, you're sitting there trying to not find a problem that needs to be done, but you want to do something else.
The problems find me, but I know what you mean.
That's like Robert Keeley, like making new things, like that's his thing. Like he he's not in there. You're not getting the pedal hand built by Robert Keeley anymore. He's moved on to he's the guy he's able to make these new things. He's able to prototype and do all this stuff, and it seems like a lot of the owners are really happy when they're able to create something new. A lot of the owners started out as creators who had to become businessmen.
Yeah, it's kind of the irony for me is the slower we are sales-wise, the busier I am. That I have almost no free time when we're desperately spending every minute trying to bring in any amount of money to make payroll, make rent, just to sustain. And there's a certain amount of like we're busy, but we're not busier than the bills are coming in, and that's a very difficult spot to be in. And when we have money coming in, the busier we are, the more free time I get in some regards, because then I have the option of saying, you know what, I can take an hour and finish this program that I've been wanting to make, or finish this design that I've been kicking around for a year now, and that's a very nice place to be in. And I mean, the reality is, even with Tyler being gone, I'm back to being the painter again. But even when he was there, between especially the 3 brands that we sell now, my day is insanely fractured, and I bounce around between stuff all day long. But I miss that part of it. I like being able to just, that's why I work Saturdays so often. Is Saturday's the one day I don't, nobody else is there. I don't have to feel like I have to answer every email immediately. As much as I love the internet, I think there's like literally 37 ways of directly getting in touch with me, and it just becomes kind of this daily onslaught of, like I'm honestly gonna have to start putting on our order forms, like, you have to include what your Instagram account is now, because so many people Instagram me direct that I don't know who I'm talking to half the time anymore. Like I'm like trying to all right, who's this guy again? Oh,
like going through their pictures, or like hold on the wall.
Yeah. Which guitar is yours? Oh, I have the Orange Titan on. Oh, okay, yeah, I know who you are now. Yeah. Like I just need. I guess it's becoming difficult, especially Instagram, because I don't always have people's real names attached to that. Like, I don't know who this is. Like, oh, how's my guitar going? I'm sure it's great.
I'm sorry, Big Bitty Lover 69. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, loves to splooge.
You make sure like either use an Instagram name that I can understand, or that would be a great new thing for ordering your Instagram.
I really think I'm going to make that a box, because it's just and it's. I don't get me wrong, especially, you guys know me on Instagram, especially I love Instagram, and even though I have my gripes about how it's gone the last few years, it's where I do a lot of business, but it does become difficult to have to keep track of, Instagram Direct, Facebook Direct, Facebook Business Direct for our business page, 3 email addresses, I get text messages from people, and it's like, it's like, just pick one way, and then the worst is if people switch midstream, and I'm like, God, pick one system and stick with it.
We're dealing with musicians. We're mostly all ADD. So
I definitely, the prevalence of the mobile device has, I think, led to a lot of that. But it's like sometimes I get people like, hey, how much does this guitar cost? And I'm like, why can't you go to my website before you ask me that? Like, it's on, like, the prices are clearly listed. Like, please don't make me stop what I'm doing to answer a question for you to just tell me, oh, I didn't realize it was that expensive. Like,
Doug, whenever I order a guitar from you, I'm doing postal service only. I'm writing handwritten letters.
Dearest
It took me 7
it's
years to
been
get this
8 weeks
guitar
since
because I
I've
was sitting
last
on my
learned.
horseback.
Oh man, I was on a podcast a few years ago and I got a little drunk on it. And I was like, if somebody ever mailed me a letter, I would give them a guitar, and that actually happened. Like 3 people mailed me letters immediately, and like the first guy, I'm like, well, he got here first, and so he got a Titan.
Oh wow,
actually,
that's
that
pretty
worked.
cool.
Yeah, he's a good friend of ours anyway, and actually, he did technically. I gave him a guitar, but then he emailed me after the fact, and it was right after Harvey or one of the hurricanes, and like his where he lived was just wiped out, and he had a friend that lost all his guitars, so we ended up basically his free guitar went to his friend, so it actually worked out really well.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it worked out pretty good, and but yeah, I got like 3 letters in the mail within 2 days.
That's great. I think we're going to wrap this episode up, but there was a question on here. We've got our little show notes. What guitar was your biggest challenge? Out of all the guitars you built, which one was like the biggest hurdle?
Sure. Well, I have 2. I have, from a technical point of view, Titan is the biggest accomplishment for a what we did for what that guitar is. Like there was, and that guitar is like a confluence of every single thing had to come together in the shop over the last 10 years to make that possible at that price point. So I'm really proud of that. From a maybe mechanical point of view, we'll say the model that we just discontinued called Argonaut, which was a double carved hollow body that I started making years ago, very early on, with a very rudimentary knowledge of how to make my CNC do what it was doing. And so we just bought a new CNC machine that you could draw 3-dimensional objects in, and it will do that. Our old CNC, the one I've been using the last 15 years, does not have that processing power. So to do 3-dimensional carving requires a lot of very manual drawing and math. So to build it was kind of built, so it's basically our Daylighter model, so the Jazzmaster shape, but it was built like a PRS hollow body 2. So the inside of the top and the back are carved to match the outside, and it's a great guitar. It literally would have like 100 hours into each guitar. And we, in like the 10 years we offered it, I think we built 22 of them. We basically built one a year, and it would be for me, and then I would sell the one I built for me the year before. Like it's a great guitar, and so that's a big accomplishment guitar for me. Like Super Chief is a much simplified version of that guitar. It's flat top, front and back instead, and it's a different approach to kind of the same territory sonically. But Argonaut was pretty amazing. It's a pretty. I'm very proud of that guitar.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude, I drooled over plenty of Argonauts. They look
I
great.
think Dustin Babbitts has the most Argonauts in one place now. He has he's got 4 or 5 now. That's a sizable percentage of all of the Argonauts.
He's trying to corner the market.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, Doug, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
And guys, he will be on next week, which we're recording right after this. So we're gonna have a lot of fun going into the next topic. Be sure check us out on Instagram at The Effects Loop. Join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/The Effects Loop. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, if you want to tell Scott to go screw himself, you can go to theeffectsloop@gmail.com.
Isn't that what our private chat is for you?
I'm just kidding. And check out Cower Guitars, Titan Guitars. Was it DRS Racks?
Yep, DRS racks.
That's all right.
Literally
I got
Doug's
it right.
rack system.
Doug's rack. I always wondered
Really
what this
bad
stood
name.
for. That's hilarious. I was always wondering what this is for. So for The Effects Loop, I'm Diaz.
I'm Chris.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Scott.
I'm the guy who talks way too much.
That's Doug. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
So,
Bye.
See ya. Welcome to The Effects Loop. I'm Diaz.
I'm Chris.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Doug Cower.
and oh, son of a
God bless America.
God bless America. All right.